London Discourse. My name is Kathy and I'm your host. Today I will be looking at a topic that's quite close to my heart, and that's youth violence. Youth knife crime in our capital. And on the panel with me today is Miski, Akinzo, and Jeremy. Why is there so much violence amongst our youth? Why are we losing our youth? I believe, as members of society, as well as those in power, that we have a responsibility. We have a social duty, whether it's in church, in our community, in our families, amongst our friends. We have a social duty to try to contribute or find a way forward in order to try and, have this matter resolved. And I hope that you do enjoy this series, or this episode, should I say, which will be an ongoing series on this issue. And I hope that we can touch someone out there today. Thank you guys for joining me. Jeremy, because you are the youngest amongst us, I will start off with you. You're 16, right? And you've just started college, right? What has your experience been? I mean, what was it like in school? Because, every day we read the papers and that's all we see. Knife crime, knife crime, knife crime. How is it? How was it in school for you? Would you say it started in school in terms of children forming gangs? How did you survive school? How was school for you?
For me, school was quite a hard experience because I wasn't like with all the popular kids when I was back in school, and that's where usually things start, because when it's with the popular kids you always want to act like you're popular, do what they're doing. So like I was brought up to be my own self, so do my own things, so I wouldn't be like them. And more time in school I used to get bullied for that. So then I tried to track away from that, like move away from my hometown where I did school to go to college, because I didn't want to have that same thing that was happening in
Following you.
Exactly. So
you had to move locations in terms of college. So
yeah.
you moved from your hometown and you chose a college which was quite far away from home.
Yeah.
Okay. And that, has that been better for you?
yeah, it actually has, but like because my college is now in King's Cross, so even in King's Cross you still see the same people, like the same things, but not as much as I had in Barking and Dagenham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you made reference to bullying. What type of bullying was it? Was it verbal, physical?
Well, there was a lot of bullying involved. Like at first it started off with cyberbullying.
Cyber?
Yeah. So people bullying me online, on Facebook, things like that. And then it moved to physical fights, starting up in school, because I would get flustered and angry. So I would try and start some things, trying to get people off my back, which didn't help at all. That would just make the problem even worse. So personally, I think that all types of bullying can lead to things like knife crime, because it could get other people flustered, even in the same way as you're getting flustered. So it could break out something really bad.
So you've perhaps had a lucky escape.
Yeah.
You have. I would probably say you've had a lucky escape, because all of that could have transpired into something else, could have turned into something else, as you said. So how do you think we can get around this? Because obviously you're the younger one, you've recently experienced that. You managed to escape it. What do you think? Do you think parents need to do more? The schools need to do more? What do you think we need to do?
Personally, I think it's more of a youth thing, that youth need to talk to each other about what's going on, because parents and teachers, they haven't been living in the same time that we do. So they're not growing up with us, because they're stuck in their time. We've got our own new time. So I think it's the youth that need to call up to other youths and start teaching them how to act properly, because if we don't, then they're our future. So if they're our future, how's the world going to be after us?
That's such a beautiful point. And I just want to touch up on the point around, youth reaching out to youth, because obviously it's not as, as big as what I'm about to say. But I remember when I just got to this country, back home, I'm quite a violent person.
Oh, you were violent back home?
Honestly. Talk about beating people.
Back home as in Nigeria. Okay.
Yes. I'm like that kind of person. I'm a no-nonsense state.
So you were a
kind
street
of
girl?
I was a street girl. I mean, I fight. When you can see some marks on my body. It's not from it's from fighting with people. And that is because I can't sit there and just let you talk to me anyhow or disrespect me or my family. I will go off on you. But because of the way you raise, you can't always be like that, but you can't help it. And I remember when I just got to this country, this was like 10 years ago, around that point, in college, I would be standing there looking at people and if people are looking at me, I'm like, I dare you to look at me like that, I'll smack you up kind of thing. And it was now she's my best friend, but back then this girl, she'll come up to me, she'd be like, why you always like this, calm down, chill out. And I didn't even realize then that obviously in Nigeria it can beat people up. No police is gonna come to your house and arrest you unless you kill somebody or something. Even at that, I'm not saying you should do that, but here you can't do that. The first time to throw a punch, it doesn't matter what the person said to you, you will get in trouble. And I didn't know that, so I had to learn really quickly to curb all of this. And because from her, she's living in an environment where she's experienced those things, she's seen how people get in trouble just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So for me, I would say I had a lucky escape back in school, because how could I be like that if nobody's come up to me and talk to me, especially somebody who's young, in the same age group as me. I would just been getting into fights, and before you don't know how my life could have been a different path right now. So I do totally agree with that. It's important that youth reach out to youth, not just leave it to authorities or parents and all of that.
And how do we do that? Youth reaching out to youth. How do we do that? Through which methods? How do we do that?
I think we can do it in various methods. I don't think there's a one glove fits all. You just need to know the people you're going to speak to. How do they like to be interacted with? Some people, they like to be interacted through games. So you can organize a games event. They bring a lot of different games, invite people, exactly,
yes.
Get them to engage. And while they're doing that, when you have your break, you guys have the opportunity to talk to them and say, oh, by the way, blah blah blah. Is that when you go preaching, for example, I don't like people who just come up to me and be like, oh, you need to give your life to Christ, blah blah blah. I like to see how you live in your life,
exactly,
and for me to learn from it.
Yeah.
So the same way as well, by putting them in an environment where the last thing they'll be thinking about is you talking to them about crime, you can then reach out through there and say, oh, by the way, guys, what is going on, this is happening. Tell them your life story as well.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we've had an experience, but we're not forthcoming with it because A, we don't want people to judge us, and B, we're not comfortable talking about it. So if we need to be able to step out of our shell,
yes,
and be an example and let that example be known. Don't hide one part of your life because it doesn't show the best light of you, and then be all about the other side.
Exactly.
If you've had the experience, talk
Share
about
it.
it.
Share
You don't know who is going to hear that, and their life will be changed from that.
That's very interesting, and because I, for one, I've been looking at various methods in which to channel this or just try to reach out to youth. It's quite easy to do it if you're in church, but the downside of that is most of the people, the youth in church, aren't exposed to the problems that you've encountered. For example, fortunately, they've got that guidance, so they're not exposed. So when you're trying to reach out to troubled kids, troubled youths who are out in the real world, how do we do that? Do we approach schools? How do we do that?
What I would say is, I used to work as a teaching assistant, and I worked with the Merton Council. They have an organization called Insight. It's part of the council.
What's it called?
Insight.
Insight. Okay.
So basically, it's for kids that have been kicked out of school, PLUs, detentions, expelled, and that. And so we just keep them because most of them roam around. Their parents don't know they've been kicked out, so they dress up every day like they're going to school.
Know?
And there was even a kid we worked with that's been sleeping rough. He's been wearing the same jacket for about 2 weeks. You could see stains. You could just tell that he's not had a proper bath and everything. So we have some people that have been in the gang that have survived. They come around on Fridays. So one of them came, and he's really good because he's aiming to change people's lives. So he's got an album with pictures of scars, fights, his friends that died, scars at the back of his head. It's a proper big book, and he shows it to them. He tells them stuff. He shows them videos when he was in the hospital, when his mom thought he was going to die.
So he's literally documented everything.
Yeah, like a documentary, and the kids watching everything. So hopefully that helps as well. And so we used to have different people come every Friday to talk. Some of them are older now, some of them have lost friends, family because of that. So that's what we do.
Do you guys then think that the church have a role, or churches in our communities have a role to play in this epidemic that we are now seeing amongst our youths?
I think everyone has a role to play. Even kids have a role to play, do you get? And with churches, one thing I would say, and this is not to go against any Christian bodies or whatever, but from somebody who didn't used to be a Christian, I became a Christian, one thing I would hate is somebody from another religion that I might not be practicing or might not, respond to, come there and be saying, oh, you're doing this is bad, is this. It's not the fact that churches can't take up a role, it's how would they go about it. Are they going to be being judgmental and trying to be like, oh, sinner, die this, die that, you're going to hellfire? Or are they going to come as the Bible commands in a loving, brotherly and sisterly way? Because if somebody sits you down and say, listen, okay, this is what you're doing, this is what I've noticed that you're doing, what exactly are you doing to enrich your life, this is what I can bring for you, this is what God can bring for you, there are different examples of how God has brought these things about in other people and changed people. Look at Paul, he was a persecutor, but yet he was persecuted as well when he gave his life to Christ. But the point I'm trying to make is this: churches can play a role in reforming youth and turning them away from a life of crime, but they have to be very cautious how they do that. You don't want to be going on the front of religion. You can help people without being religion.
Right.
And that will bring them in.
I think you're right. Obviously, it's good if you are religious and you are religious, but I totally understand what you mean. You can't throw it into people's faces because everybody's walk is different, everybody's pace is different. It takes everyone different times to adjust. And like you said, you don't need to be religious or throw the Bible in people's faces in order to save people. There are so many good people out there of various different types of religion who still can reach out to different people. And I think that's something I hope, if anyone's from church or churches, something to take away.
Way a church can come through, because the church is like a charity anyway,
exactly.
So it's for the public, the community service and things like that.
And that's, sorry to interrupt you, and that's why I think it's very key, considering that we have so many churches in London, on every street. It is very key for churches to take part, and it's very key that they understand how they do this.
So the ultimate thing to do is just organize a day event on a Saturday.
Yes.
Have some snacks, some drinks, attract people, play some music. People
That's a
come
good
there,
idea.
you talk to them. And and from there people start opening up, when you do things like that for the community, because people be like, oh, what's happening? And they might not even know it's the church until you tell them it's a church. So you don't have to come looking like a church, maybe having crosses everywhere or preaching Jesus. You could just have like a tent, have some meat pies and snacks. Well, I live in African and Nigerian community anyway. So have some meat pies, pop-ups and drinks and that. And people are attracted to it. You play music as well, playing some nice hip-hop Christian music, and people be like, oh, that music is nice, let's go over there, let's go talk to them. And then from there people start opening and they talk about people, they talk to people, and share word or exhortation or something, So I think that's the best way to get into people.
That's a good
do
idea.
something open to the public and people will come there.
I think that is really good, because I remember last year, and now it's become an annual thing in my church, we did this thing called Youth Takeover. And in this event, it's open to everybody, but obviously you have majority Christian. But what was happening on that day, and what really worked well, was on the same day that we had a youth takeover, we also had barbecue day. So after the church, we went to the backyard, which was open, and if you come in anywhere from the public, you can see us outside. And before you know, people are just coming in like, oh, what's going on? Just like have some free food, try some Nigerian food, try some Jamaican food, try this, try that, and you'd be surprised the amount of people that actually turned up. And before they start talking to you, what is going on? Some of them retain, some of them just keep coming for events. But the thing is, that is fine.
Exactly.
Just make it open. You can't have it in a place that is enclosed. If people can't see you doing it, it's
no one's
point.
gonna come into the church to
Exactly.
have to be able to see you.
And I think that's probably a mistake that a lot of churches are making. We concentrate too much on our own environment, which is all well and good, but Jesus did say he came here to save sinners, and we need to spread it. God is there to be enjoyed by everybody, so we need to go out there. And I think maybe without realizing, a lot of churches make that mistake. We just focus on our own, what's going on with our youths, with our children, with our members. But what about outside? What about on our doorsteps? How can we make that difference? And that's why this is so I'm so passionate about this particular topic. Another thing that I wanted to look at as well is parenting. I want to look at how it's changed from like when I was being raised by my parents, and it's compared to now, because it's quite difficult for a lot of parents. They have to work more than one job, for example.
Yeah.
And this is where the problem is: when parents are not at home, kids wander about outside. So have any of you, did you experience that amongst your peers when you were in school? Is it because parents were constantly working? You know, were your parents working when you were in school?
When I was in school, more to the beginning of the year, my dad was usually out the house,
Okay.
but my mum would always be at home when I came back home.
That's right.
So it would be my mum to be the one to keep me inside the house and make sure that there's no one else around that's trying to influence me to come out. So my mum had this thing here, it's actually quite funny, but my mum kept us in at 8:30, like we had to go to bed at 8:30.
Brilliant.
Like,
Yeah, no, that's
it.
good.
Like,
Everyone locked down.
What time did your school start? 8 o'clock in the morning?
yeah, it was supposed
So
to be
I
8
was-
o'clock.
Oh, 8 o'clock. Wow, yeah.
And no, my mum used to wake us up at 6:30 6 o'clock in the morning
Wow.
to have a little Bible study before we start getting ready for school.
Wow.
Brilliant.
So that's how I got the mentality of not going to parties, things like that, because when I heard about parties and things like that, I would always be skeptical, because every time I see a party on Snapchat, something will always break out. Police are coming, mosh pits are breaking out, people are getting stomped on. Like, it's a bit mad. So now that I've realized what my mum was doing for me, keeping me safe at home, I can appreciate her more, and I can appreciate the fact that she's been at home and been there for me in everything that I've been going through.
Bless your mom.
I know. We love your mum already. But it's a bit harder now with things becoming so expensive, lone parents, single parenting, etc. People have to go to work. Mothers have to go to work. So you can't have a woman stay at home indefinitely or for a long time to raise kids, and I think that's where the problem is. So because the parents are working, especially a lot of parents, I believe a lot of African, I'm just saying this in general, a lot of African mothers are in nursing type of jobs, hospital type of jobs, which work around the clock. They work around the clock, and there is a danger in that. I know they have to work, but if they're not at home when the kids are supposed to be home, this is fundamentally where the problem starts. The kids won't come home. They'll go somewhere else.
I just want to say to that, I understand completely where you're coming from, but one thing I've always said in life, you've all got choices. You have a choice to make. As a child, you have a choice to make. You know what is good, you know what is bad. Let's be frank about that. And with regards to working mother, because my mom, she's a nurse and she works a lot of the time. Because even now, she's trying to break it down that not since we all at uni or we all coming through and kind of thing. But one thing she's always done, even then, because I remember when I just got back here, I had a really different childhood coming here, so I wasn't used to having a mother until I got here, so I've had to learn how to have a mother. But one thing my mom always done that has stuck by me till now is this: even when I'm not at home, because I used to live out of the house for a while, and even at that, before I go, I always call her, oh mom, I'm going to be at this place at this time, I'm going to be home at this time, and if I'm not coming, I call her. Because when I used to be at home then, or back in school and college and all of that, whenever, even though she's at work, 8 o'clock, my mom will call or text me and said, how are you? Where are you? If she calls me on my phone, I don't pick up, she'll call the landline. If she called the landline, I don't pick up, she will text me and say, where are you? I haven't heard from you. Are you okay? Are you at home? She still makes sure she takes her responsibility seriously.
Yes.
If I'm not at home, if she can't reach me, she calls my brother. If my brother is not at home to pick up, then she'll call my auntie or my neighbor and say, oh, can you just check in the house? Are they around? What is going on? But the thing, just because you're working doesn't mean you can't take steps to still ensure safety of your kids. And I get that you can't control everything, but there are things you can't control. You get break, even that 5-minute break, even midnight, I still get text from my mom saying, oh, I hope you're okay, I'm just on a quick break now, just checking up on you. Simple as that. Do you get? But at the same time, as a child as well, listen, your mother can do everything in the world and you still choose a life of crime over love. Do you get? It's all about self choices. You have the choice to listen, you have the choice to be self-taught, you have the choice choice to go out there and let yourself be influenced. One thing my grandma told me before I came to this country, she's told me so many stories. We'll probably explore that later on at some point. But one thing she said when I was coming, she said, listen, as you come into this country, you have two choices. If you want to be good, there's every opportunity available for you to do that. If you want to be bad, there's every opportunity available for you to do that. And I had to make the choice. Do I want to be good or do I want to be bad? Because a lot of things are happening. To go into a life of crime is so easy. It's so tempting. You just do one thing and the thing is just like telling a lie. Once you tell one lie, you have to tell another one to keep the next one. That is the same thing. Once you're in it, that's why it's hard for people to step out. And that's why it's good for people to always have somebody that's keeping them grounded. Have somebody who holds you accountable. It doesn't have to be your mom. It doesn't have to be your dad. It could be your sister, your friend, even a stranger or a mentor or even somebody in authority. The point is this. In whatever situation you find yourself, you have got to make the choice that you know that you can stand the consequences. If you feel like the consequence is not worth a decision, then don't take it.
That's very interesting, and you've touched on quite a lot of aspects. I spoke to some people, outside. I've spoken to some parents just to find out, what their views were, and some of them were saying, "Oh, what do you expect? The government has taken our rights from us. We can't discipline our children anymore. Any little thing we do, we're going to get arrested, or social services are going to be in." Do you think there's any truth in that, or do you think that can impact the way kids are raised?
Okay.
Any of you, whoever's going to go first, Jeremy, you go first.
I feel like that kind of has an impact on how people are raised because I was raised in an African household, so like discipline is like an important thing in that.
Social services or not?
Exactly.
That social service will get her ass whooped.
Please. So and my mom always used to say to us when we were crying that she'll say, the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. So I feel like discipline is a really important thing to keep a child on track, especially nowadays that people are going to do fraud and all of that. If you don't have discipline, then you wouldn't know what's right or wrong. And if you don't know what's right or wrong, then you wouldn't have morals. So you'll go into it not knowing if it's right or wrong. Like someone could just pull you into it and you'll just be like, it's fine, it must be fine.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Akinzo?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if people keep saying government, I think they're lazy to some extent and they just think like, oh, because they can't do these things, it's the government. Because you can still be firm because the government don't live with you in the house. You live with your children. You give back to these children. You've raised them up to a certain stage and you're starting to notice certain things. So you need to speak to them, talk to them, let them realize that what they're doing, even before they even get into it, let them just know that a lot of things are going to happen, peer pressure, things are going to just... Whatever I've given to you, let you be contented with that, be satisfied, You speak to them every morning, every night, talk to them as a family, spend time with them, because a lot of people that don't spend time with their children, I know people can be working, but just have this free conversation with them like they're your mates, just talk to them. And another thing is, you say you was raised in an African home, at least your parents are nice, they were able to, there's some African homes that they try to be so strict. And they don't really have that rapport with the children like that. So it's hard for the children to tell them anything. They
hide kids.
Yeah,
they hide things.
It's just kind of. I mean, I'm not judging or anything. It's just kind of girls. Like if they have girls, they get pregnant. Because they're hiding. They don't talk about boyfriends or anything with their parent. And the next thing they just come home. So you need to spend time with your children. So you can't really say it's the government because the government, they're not living in the house with you. So I don't know how they're controlling anything.
I completely get that. Because
you can be firm, you can be assertive. You don't have to be to treat them in a bad way or inflict wounds. But just be assertive. And
I think there are also loads of other factors, socio-economic factors as well, financial factors. That lone parenting factor as well, absent fathers, that's playing a key role, especially especially within the black community. Fathers are not around to help raise their kids. How do you think this is impacting?
Like I said as well, if you want the best, I was a single. My mom was single mom, innit? Before my dad died, my mom and they were separated, and there was domestic violence and sort of things. You know, I saw it physically. That's why it's not something I'll ever do. I'll never be involved with it and everything. My mom was a single mom, me and my brother, and she raised us. She was so strict with us to the point that even if we were writing exams, she would set exams for us at home. We used to call it, I can't remember what
Homework.
we would do it. She used to lock us at home. We won't go out and things like that. If you drop anything downstairs, you have to wait till she comes back. You know, she was so strict with us, and she was a nurse as well. You know, working around the clock and that. And we still didn't get into trouble. We thought we got into trouble, but she used to talk to us at night. You know, say so many things, Bible, read. You know, give us example of Samson, about Samuel and the. I remember she said that. Don't you want to be like Samuel?
I know.
He was a good child, you know. So, and at the end of the day, we all grew up. My brother is doing what? He's married. He's got his lovely daughter and everything. So we thought it turned out well. You know, nothing bad happened, and we were doing good.
I've had two examples here of religion, your background and your background.
Yeah.
Not to say it's a bad thing or anything, but do you not feel that that is a bonus? How many people have that outside? That's a bonus. It is a bonus. You've been beneficial. You've been blessed to have that. To have that time, that downtime where you read the Bible with your family, you discuss. Thing I actually wanted to touch on, so the viewers are aware, it probably doesn't even matter if parents work or mothers work, because you've got situations where parents don't work at all and kids are still out of control. So we can't actually say that's the problem. You know, I mean, this is an ongoing discourse, and going forward I will be speaking to more people in position of authority to address this. I'll be speaking to various people from different organisations. But today, obviously, we were just looking at our background, you know, our own environment, you know, how we can perhaps make a difference. Like I said at the very beginning, we all have a role to play in this. It's not down to the schools to teach the kids. It's not down to just parents to teach the kids. You know, we all have a role, a responsibility in this issue. And I do hope that in watching this show that you learn something, or that you can take something away, and that you can start to make decisions in your area, in your community. You can start to reach out to people in your community, because it's a collective responsibility. We need to do something about this. We can't be losing our youths. Guys, it's been a pleasure having you on the show as usual, and I'll see you at the next one. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to London Discourse, the mobile talk show. Thank you. Until the next time.